Welcome in. It's Dan Hardenbrook. Glad to have you along as we take a look at your latest local news from around the region. It is your Newberry News Update on M123 FM. Your news today brought to you by your three-time award-winning local newspaper of the year. It's the Newberry News. Let's check out this week's front page headlines. Dramatic flooding has hit the old Newberry High School. Is it too late to save the building? A longtime teacher and staff member are also retiring, and the latest from this week's Tequamanon Area Schools Board meeting. Be careful if you're out on the trails after that big blizzard. Feeding America returns to town this week. Have you seen Baxter? Superior Potential is relocating to Curtis, and the Bandits' very wild championship quest. Those stories and more available inside this week's edition of your award-winning Newberry News. It's available now. In your latest local news, a Grand Marais man who initially faced 50 charges related to criminal sexual conduct and activity is taking a plea deal on 3 additional charges. 31-year-old Maxwell Lundquist of Grand Marais was back in court late last week on felony charges. He'll face additional penalties, including 2 counts of capturing images of unclothed persons and aggravated child sexually abusive material. Those 3 additional felonies runs the charges up to 50 in total for Lundquist. According to Alger County Prosecutor Robert Steinhoff, the additional charges arose after the previous investigation led to multiple videos being seized from electronic devices in Lundquist's possession. Those devices had items that depicted local residents in the Grand Marais area in the privacy of their homes. Videos were captured through windows and doors, while victims had complete expectations of privacy. Lundquist next returns to court for sentencing, set on April 13th. An Eastern Upper Peninsula judge has handed down a sentence of 60 to 90 years in the downtown Sault Ste. Marie crash that killed local woman Katie Robinson. Tanner Dunbar Harrison was sentenced in Chippewa County's 50th Circuit Court for the second-degree murder of Robinson following a June 2021 car crash downtown Sault Ste. Marie. Harrison was found to have deliberately crashed his truck into the rear end of Robinson's Volkswagen Bug while traveling at over 80 miles per hour on Ashman Street during the early evening hours of June 17th, 2021. After leading police on a high-speed chase, he was charged in the accident. Robinson was an accomplished and well-liked local hockey player who was just finishing her shift at work when Harrison crashed his F-350 into her vehicle, propelling it into a utility pole. Robinson's death sparked the creation of the Kate Robinson Memorial Girls Hockey Showcase, which is organized and been growing over the past 5 years. The Village of Newberry is asking local employees at 3 of downtown's busiest locations to help find alternative parking and help them keep streets clear. In a letter to the community, village manager Allison Watkins said that the village and their snow removal teams are having problems in 3 typical busy downtown daytime areas. Village is now requesting assistance from all Luce County Courthouse, Helen Newberry Joy Hospital, and Tequamanon area school employees who are parking on village streets during work hours. They say that village streets are currently very narrow due to the significant recent snowfall. Village plow crews are continuing to work to push back banks and widen streets and alleys. However, streets will remain narrow until there's a significant thaw. They lose volume from those snowbanks. Village is noticing significant logistical issues clearing the streets near the courthouse, the hospital, and the school. Individuals in those locations typically park on both sides of the roadway, which causes some streets to become impassable. Village says it's a safety hazard as emergency vehicles would be potentially hindered had to respond to an emergency in those spots. In addition, residents on those streets are reporting issues with driveways being completely blocked and or vehicles in the street making it difficult or impossible to pull in and out of their driveways. The village is respectfully requesting that employees that typically park on the streets to utilize their staff parking locations. help greatly reduce congestion in those areas. If you have any questions, you can email Allison Watkins, Village Manager. It's awatkins@newberrymi.gov or 906-291-1622. 2 men have been arrested after a Trident investigation this past weekend. On Saturday, March 21st, Trident officers concluded an ongoing narcotics investigation that led to a pair of arrests. Sammy Lee Ledford, a 43-year-old Brimley resident, has been charged with possession with intent to deliver methamphetamine, fleeing and eluding, is listed as a habitual offender. 43-year-old Brimley resident Brandon Edward Teeple, also charged with possession with the intent to deliver methamphetamine, and he is also a habitual offender. Trident had information that large amounts of methamphetamine were being transported into the area and sold locally. This past weekend, a Chippewa County deputy sheriff attempted a traffic stop on the suspect vehicle, which failed to stop, and a pursuit then ensued. A short time later, the vehicle pulled into a driveway on Mackinac Trail south of Rudyard. A package was thrown from the vehicle and recovered. Over 10 ounces of methamphetamine seized at the scene. Both men were arrested and booked on their charges. Both suspects arraigned in the 91st District Court and are innocent until proven guilty. Three Lakes Academy in Curtis is notifying district families that intent to return forms and enrollment information have now been sent home to students. Following the upcoming spring break period, enrollment for Three Lakes Academy will be open to the public for 2 weeks. If you intend on having your child return for a high-demand spot next year, they must have their form returned. If you do not receive the intent to return for your child, they'll lose their spot in the class for the next school year. If you want more information, call the district at 906-586-6631. They're asking to have all forms back by the end of this week. You can also email 3 Lakes Academy at eupschools.org. Open enrollment will run at the district April 6th through the 17th. There's information on new student enrollment and lottery procedures available on the 3 Lakes Academy Facebook page. I'm Dan Hardenbrook. That's your latest local news. It's your Newberry News Update on M123 FM. Your news today brought to you by your 3-time award-winning local newspaper of the year. It's the Newberry News. It's Wednesday. You know what that means. Pick up the latest edition of your award-winning Newberry News. It's available now. Time now to check in with sports. A potential back-breaking loss for the Red Wings last night as they fall 3-2 to the Ottawa Senators. Red Wings record at first glance looks okay, 38-25-8, but they're clinging to a playoff spot. And say that the Red Wings meant to win 8 of their last 11 games just to make their return to the postseason. Second half struggle is pushing forward over the final few weeks of the regular season. Pistons continue their push for the Eastern Conference's top playoff seed. They'll be back at Little Caesars Arena tonight, take on the Atlanta Hawks. 7 p.m. the tip-off on ESPN. Pistons currently first in the East, but playing without all-star point guard Cade Cunningham, continues to recover and try to hopefully make his return for the playoffs after suffering a collapsed lung last week. Your latest local weather forecast for the day today. Here's what you can expect. A chance of snow with rain mixing in later this afternoon. Cloudy and a high near 40. South winds 10 miles per hour. For your Thursday, rain and freezing rain mixing in. Mostly cloudy, a high in the upper 30s. West winds 5 to 10. Friday, partly sunny, but we cool off a bit. Highs in the low to mid-20s. I'm Dan Hardenbrook. That's your latest news, sports, and weather. It's your Newberry News Update on M123 FM.
Covering stories that interest the community, readers have come to depend on the Newberry News. Subscribe to the digital edition for early Wednesday morning access or get the print edition delivered to your doorstep. The Newberry News, your news and information leader.